Hi all, I am Mr. Mendoza, a second grade teacher at Webb Du Bois Charter Academy with Agape Schools. In this section of Governing the People for second graders, we are going to look at our national government. Some things to know. Who makes the laws for the United States? Does the president make the laws? No! Our country's government has three branches that follow the Constitution. Know that. And that's what we're going to read about, the three branches and how laws are created for our government. In the previous sections, we read about how laws are created for the city or a community, the state. Now we're looking at national government. Some words that you'll see: Congress, tax, president, election, the Supreme Court, and Constitution. Our national government. Our country's government has three parts or branches, just as community and state governments do. The legislative branch makes the laws, just like in the city and state. The executive branch carries out the laws, a little bit different. The judicial branch makes sure that the laws are fair. Let's pretend this is the White House. This is the Washington Monument, which is close by the White House. And on this side is the Supreme Court with the Capitol. Washington, D.C. The capital of our country is Washington, D.C. The White House, the Capitol building, and the Supreme Court are located there. Memorials and monuments on the National Mall honor past presidents and war heroes. You'll see all kinds of awesome monuments and memorials in Washington, D.C., our national capital. Congress. The legislative branch makes the laws. The members of Congress are chosen by citizens of all 50 states. Besides making laws, they also decide on the taxes people will pay. A tax is money paid to the government. It pays for things that citizens need, such as schools, police protection, and libraries. I bet you didn't know that, huh? That the taxes that you pay as adults, they all go towards everything else. In the United States, citizens choose a president. The president's job is to carry out laws and make sure that the country is a good place to live, just like the mayor. An election is an event in which citizens choose leaders. The citizens of our country decide who will be president and who will be in Congress. I said taxes, what they pay. The National Guard helps during emergencies, and the Congress gives the National Guard money through taxes. Many members of the armed forces serve in other countries. Why? Because Congress gives them money. We will always here's one of our past presidents, Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan from many years ago, many decades ago. We will always remember, we'll always be proud, we'll always be prepared, so we may always be free. This is something that President Ronald Reagan said in his inauguration. That was one of the greatest speeches of Ronald Reagan. President Bush. This is President Bush, not Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, I'm sorry about that. I should have known that. That's what I thought. I was so wrong. President Ronald Reagan was way before him. This is President Bush. He promised to work for the people. The Supreme Court decides on laws for the entire country. It has 9 judges. Each must be chosen by the president and agreed to by Congress. These judges make sure that the laws match what is in the Constitution. The Constitution is a written set of rules that the government must follow. It explains how our government is to work. Hundreds of years ago, this Constitution was written up by not just one person, but a group of people that were actually very religious people. They believed in God and they were God-fearing people. They did their very best in the beginning to lay down the structure of our beautiful country. Think about why the Constitution is an important document. The Constitution also lists the rights of all United States citizens. New rights and laws are added to the Constitution when they are needed. To summarize, Congress, the President, and the Supreme Court work together to make and carry out laws for the United States. To review, who makes the laws for the United States? Think about this. Who makes the laws to the United States? Think about the words in bold and think, who makes the laws? Congress, the President, or the legislative branch? What does the Constitution explain? Constitution. What does it explain? Make a chart to show what each of the three branches of government does. Make a chart to say what Congress does, what the President does, and what the Supreme Court does. Those are the three. What are the three branches of government? What are they? Think about this. And go back and read everything else on this. Because Congress is a legislative branch. Then the president, what is he? And lastly, what does he do? And the Supreme Court, what do they do? It's Congress, President, and the Supreme Court. Make a choice by voting. Why it matters. In the United States, citizens choose their leaders. They vote in an election. A vote is a choice that gets counted. What you need to know, before people vote, they think about who will do the best job. The vote in most elections, people mark a ballot. A ballot lists all of the choices. Voters mark their choice in secret. The ballots are not counted until everyone has voted. The winner of an election is the person who gets the most votes. This is called majority rule. Majority means more than half. Here are some things to practice. Before, imagine that your classroom is a community that wants to choose a new mayor. 4 people want to lead the community. Only one of them can be mayor. During this practice, make ballots that list the name of each person who wants to be mayor. Give each citizen a ballot to mark, like this. When everyone has voted, collect the ballots, count the votes. The winner is the person who gets the most votes. This is the final product. In a ballot, you write the people's name, make up names. You can, in your household, think about that. Then make up a chart and tallies. Use voting as a way to make other choices in your classroom or in your home. A ballot is something like this. Everyone checks off only one. Then you collect all the ballots and to create your chart like this. Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall helped change the laws of the United States. When Marshall was a young boy, his father taught him to speak up for what he believed in. Thurgood Marshall went on to use this skill when he became a lawyer. He spent his life fighting for equal rights. Hold on. This is a story about a person. So if it's a story about a person, then it's a biography. The genre of this story is a biography, and it talks about fairness and why character counts. Why do you think Thurgood Marshall worked for laws to treat people fairly? Why? Reading that. Thurgood Marshall was the first African American Supreme Court justice. In 1967, Thurgood Marshall was selected to be a justice or judge of the Supreme Court of the United States. Congress had to approve. President Lyndon Johnson told Congress this about Marshall. It is the right thing to do, the right time to do it, the right man, and the right place. Thurgood Marshall was a respected justice of the Supreme Court for 24 years. Something to consider. Thurgood Marshall said that school children cannot be separated because of their races. A long time ago, many decades ago, blacks and whites couldn't be in the same classroom. Everyone was separated. And many decades ago, before that, some of the only people that were in the classrooms were only whites. That's just how our country started. But laws started taking place, and people said, nah. Thurgood Marshall stepped up to the plate and said, that's wrong. Everyone cannot be separated. We should all be taught together. When he retired, Justice Marshall had served longer than all but one of the justices of the Supreme Court. Some important dates, a bio debrief, I would say. 1933, Thurgood Marshall receives law degree from Howard University. In 1940, he wins his first case before the Supreme Court. 1954, he wins a case called Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. It's about education. In 1991, he retires from the Supreme Court. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and please look for more.